As entrepreneurs, we want to make a huge difference. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you how you can do it. Yeah, we all know capital markets work. The more value we create for other people, we're going to do well. That's the enlightened self-interest. It works exceptionally well. But one of the things we hear over and over again, and I've said it many times, is focus, focus, focus. Because as entrepreneurs, particularly as you have more and more success, what happens is there's more and more opportunities. And what I want to do today is do something a little bit different. I want to introduce you to a remarkable entrepreneur who's an attorney. He's really a fellow entrepreneur. He's been in a number of businesses, and they all kind of complement each other. And he's doing what many of us as business owners want to do. What we do when we do the research, we find that 88% of us want to become seriously wealthy. Now, that sounds like we all want to be greedy. That's not what we're talking about. We want to accumulate wealth so we can take care of the people that we love and the causes we care about. Well, this entrepreneur, he's doing it, and he's doing it extremely effectively. We want to look at how can we turn the challenges that we have into complementary businesses that allow us to accelerate our success even more. I'm John Bowen, CEO of AES Nation, and we're going to help you accelerate. Stay tuned. You do not want to miss this.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Stephen, I am so excited to have you. Jessica Rhodes of Interview Connections introduced us and told me what you were doing. You're a remarkable entrepreneur making a big difference with your clients in a number of businesses, as well as really in the causes you care about. And first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, John. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, it's kind of fun. We're both Californians now. I'm up in Silicon Valley. You're down in San Diego. Beautiful spots. It stopped raining for a bit, so we were able to have this conversation. But what I'm looking for, Stephen, is you are doing a bunch of things. And when I get a bio package from the Interview Connections, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, wow, give me a little bit of backstory before we talk about the different businesses you have and how you actually make them work. So because I know how important it is for you for client experience, making a big difference. How did you get to where you are today? I mean, you didn't wake up with the idea of having a whole bunch of different businesses when you were at 5, did you?
No. It slowly evolved. It's more of a growth progress and a process. But again, I only have 4 businesses. I look at other people, and one of my clients, he's actually younger than I am. He's got 8.
Well, and some of the billionaires have 500. So you and I are just getting started, I guess. Yeah, I have 4 too.
Warm up. But I get bored quite rapidly. And so if you're, in a business and you're going in for vertical stratification, everything's kind of similar, blah, blah, blah. After a while, the entrepreneur, and I started at 13, literally, the entrepreneur at heart, we're not necessarily looking to make something to make us wealthier. We're looking for something, as you stated, where we want to give to causes or help our families, but also something that challenges us. And as you get older, you've learned so much more, and you're like, I want to tackle this with these eyes rather than with what I knew when I was 30 years younger.
No, it really is. And I mean, one of the things that I love, and I want to hear how you do it, Stephen, but one of the things that I do, as I think about businesses, and I do it on an annual basis, and it's just every year I kind of look at, I've got good solid foundation businesses. Our biggest business right now is coaching top financial advisors, and it generates, very nice lifestyle. And because we're able to make such a big difference at the, all the private banker, elite wealth managers. But I'm always looking to kind of do something new that keeps it interesting. I always say, what's going to motivate me to dedicate about 20% of my time to something that's really challenging? I mean, so that's a process that I go through. I want to keep my foundation going. I want it to keep working, to be systemic and all that. But I want to have these kind of interesting, almost like up here in Silicon Valley, we call it skunk works, Lockheed. You kind of separate it out, you try it, it's a little messy, sausage being made. How do you go about that, coming together?
Wait, I'm not sure how to answer that, how you go about it, because I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me, but I will comment on this, because your enthusiasm for how you're just explaining it brought this to light. When you're doing something different, it's not just the company that's different. It's not just the business model, the core competence. The people you meet, for example, the people I meet as a business lawyer, and the people I meet in my fashion company, or my film production company. Those are three different types of people. And I live in three different worlds. And my attitude has always been, life is a buffet. Whatever you don't take from it, you don't go to God and say, why didn't you do this, this, and that? And he said, well, guess what? I gave you this, this, and that opportunity. You know how the old joke goes. And, then it's my fault. So, okay, let's give it a try. Let's see what drives me. It doesn't mean I'm less interested in law because I love fashion. It just means I want to explore this world, and it interests me like crazy, to be honest.
Well, and one of the things that I think is so important that you brought up, Stephen, is really powerful is, as we try new things, I always call it strategic stumbling, because we're trying new things. We hopefully have thought it through. It's something that we're passionate about. We see that it complements our businesses. We have the resources to do it, to try it. We're going to do it kind of a minimum viable product type thing. And we're going to let the market tell us whether it's working. But almost every time I do that, something else happens. And it's not the great business plan you put together, in writing or in your mind. It doesn't play out. And, one of the things I'd be interested to hear, when we talk about the very different businesses you had, like when I was doing the background, looking at, I look at all the things you've done. You've got your core business, your law firm, but you're making some pretty good looking ties too. I don't know any. I know a lot of attorneys, Stephen, that don't have a fashion sense too, let alone have a business. And then, I'm looking at the different production companies. I did work in the entertainment side. I've always been in the financial, so I worked with both in front and behind, the talent and behind the camera. Some of the most successful people I had the chance to manage, really billions of dollars, and that's a different world too. I think of the law, the entertainment, fashion. How did this stumbling go about to get you in each of these areas?
Well, you're so right about the stumbling, because I didn't even want to be a lawyer. I have a degree in biochemistry and experimental genetics.
That's the perfect pre-law program there.
That's right into the rest of my story. Hang on, let me find if I have any medication to calm all this down. So I started business very young. Then I got quite serious by the time I was 18. And my lawyers, though, were taking forever to create contracts. And as a result, I was losing out on good business deals. So I said, this makes no sense. Let me go be a lawyer, and I can make, because I'm a quick decision maker. I'll analyze everything, and move on, and I'll make my own decisions and draft the contracts. Little did I know, though, part of the deal is you're charging somebody 40 years ago or 30 years ago $5,000 for a contract. You can't give it to him in 24 hours. It doesn't look good. Yeah. So from there, I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a doctor. So. Originally didn't get into med school. I only applied to one school, had a great average, but had missed out on a 24-hour fill-in-the-page exam where they changed physics to nuclear physics the year I took it. One question kept me out, so I said, enough of this, went to law school, and from there I practiced law, and then probably, I don't know how many years ago, 7, 8 years ago, I really got crazy about dogs. It was sometime after 2000, because I'd studied in Boston. Then I became a business consultant. Really wanted to get my business skills down, because I put CEOs, even of Fortune 500 companies in my office. I want to speak their language. And trust me, as you know, if you don't get yourself educated and keep reading, you're going to be so far behind in months. So I then got really passionate about dogs. I had a client call me once, and we did pro bono work, 15,000 per lawyer, my firm, and I got, most of my business is over the phone. I can tell you what's up with your voice. After a while, you just read, and I knew there was something wrong. And I said, "What's up?" And he said nothing. I said, "Look, this conversation is not taking place unless you tell me what's up." And he said, "I had a difficult decision to make this morning. Send my kids to school with lunch every day, pay my rent for the month, or send my dog to a vet who's been with us since he was born and is a member of the family for the last 12 years. And to hear his voice crackle just put shivers up my spine. And I said, "Good God, I've got to be able to do something about this." That went on to a stumble. I started doing events in San Diego, kind of high-end events to raise money for dogs. Because I don't have, these people who write $100,000 checks, they didn't know who I was. And a third of the people kept wanting to get in free because they knew me. It ended up being a waste of my time, to be honest. And I said, if I'm spending that much time, and I was able to carve out that much of my spare time, because regrettably I never had children in my life, so being divorced, I have more time than if I had a family to run. I said, what can I do that has sustainability? So that's when I thought about, what do I like to do? And so I had created I'm a high-level negotiator. I've done kidnappings, extortion, blackmail, that kind of stuff. And I created a 6-hour program on making relationships work using negotiation strategy, resolves issues in a week, called Relationships 901. And then I said, I put my eggs in one basket one time before when I created a program on U.S. immigration law. And I lost a lot of money. We all have those. So I said, no, this time I'm not building them out and hope they...
Well, we want to fail fast on these things, and sometimes it just takes a while. Type thing.
And so I saw there was room for a relationship program everywhere. I belong to the ERA, the Electronic Retail Association. Wonderful people, and they deal with infomercials and kind of see what's going on. And
that's one of. I want to come back to the networking and the groups, but that's one. There's an awful lot of successful individuals in that group.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, they should rent private planes to go to the meetings in Vegas. So anyway, went from there. I said to myself, this time I'm going to have a backup company for 2 reasons. And this kind of ties into our conversation. One reason, just like playing the stock market. One stock could be up, one could be down. They balance each other out. I didn't want everything in one company again, because that hurts a lot. That stings. So I said, I want to open up another company for that purpose, but also for the purpose of economies of scale. The things that you're going to need if you're looking at internet sales are going to be very similar. It's a Pareto 80-20 rule. So if I can leverage my team to take the same templates and say, use this for this, use this for that, I only have to deal with the 20% that's unique. And that means learning. And I love learning. I have a thirst for knowledge, and one thing, if it wasn't for the dogs, and I'll explain that in a second, I don't think I'd ever be going to techie conferences. I'm flying to one next Sunday in Las Vegas as well. But I decided to run these 2 companies. Like fashion ended up again a stumbling block. A fashion designer calls me and says, "Look, do you have any jobs in fashion?" I'm like, "No, I do fashion shows for dogs. I don't know anybody in fashion." And he says, "Well, I don't have money. I need a job." And I said, "Look, I've always said that since Mr. Versace died, I said, the ties have become a little bit conservative overall in the market. And I loved his ties. I loved Johnny's ties. And he was my inspiration. And I said, somebody needs to do something and come out and really spend time creating a number of ties that we can wear. Because either your watch, which today... this is everybody's watch.
Oh, yeah. I got one of those too here. Let me show it here. I've got all these very expensive watches we were talking about the other day, and they're in the closet. I'm wearing an Apple Watch that keeps better time than any of the Rolexes or anything else that I have.
It does a lot more than just time. This is it. So you can even take a call on the bloody thing. So that, your belt, your shoes. And even your shoes, you have to be careful. So, tie, watch, belt, is about it if you want to be respected by the mainstream. So I thought, let's do something with ties. And we designed 20 ties, and we made it in 3 different sizes because I cut mine, shorter to fit me perfectly. Another friend of mine who's 6'5",
Yeah.
he has problems finding them.
Well, I'm 6'3", and I have to go a little longer, and I have to tie it just right to get the balance. I don't wear ties very much, as we were talking about before we turned on the camera, but it was always, I'd ask my wife, she was great at getting stuff for me, and, to get the longer ties, because it is a problem. We don't all come in the same shapes.
Right. And so we're the first company to make every single design in 3 sizes. And since I'm 5'7", we call them tall, taller, and tallest, accordingly. And in the tall one, you'd be happy to know, is 6 inches long, or the tallest is 6 inches longer than standard. And our slogan is size doesn't matter, fit does.
No, very much. And so tell me, are you selling these online, or how do you market that? Because, that's one of the things, we started kind of the segment with the idea that we have this core business, and you've got this successful law practice, you're focused on business, and you're in a beautiful spot, San Diego, you're doing a number of other, businesses along with it, and this Taiwan came out of your passion. I'd call it strategic stumbling. This guy shows up in life, somebody else passed away, that, unbelievable design person, my wife would tell me. And, so how, what do so you come up with the idea, how do you bring that out to the world, though?
Well, back to conferences and learning. I'm learning right now how to create a brand out of it. And we started out with some interesting, again, I love to study. Even in our law firm, we're big on researching everything. And so I was studying how best to do it. And I looked at Pirelli or Benetton. They actually use nudes to take out their lines. Now, who thought tires, nudes? And of course, my car has Pirelli tires. I think they're one of the best in the world. They're outstanding. I would have never thought that's how
all my cars have Pirelli tires too.
They awesome. They are the best when it's wet. Like, if you have slick roads or something, just corner like crazy. So anyway, long story short, we decided to do a number of nudes, but very tasteful. Like, you don't see nipples, you don't see anything, that you shouldn't see, with our ties, and then clever little quotes along with them. And what's nice, in our social media, people have started passing them along in Instagram or Pinterest, sharing them with their friends. So slowly it's getting the name out. And then, of course, I'm going to be setting up a law firm office in LA, so that I can be closer to the fashion industry there, because right now my only connection is in Milan, so it's a long flight. Mm-hmm. Maybe hosting some events so that people get to know us. We're going to a conference in March in Orlando. March, in 2 weeks in Orlando for duty free. Because one of my venture capital friends, for example, he says when he goes to Japan, it's traditional to bring a gift.
So let me ask you, I'm going to bring it back to kind of the big picture for a second. But this is a real good discussion, because this is, when I almost feel like, Stephen, we should be having a glass of wine and we're out, admiring the sunset and kind of talking about these really exciting things. Something you're passionate about. I love business. I love creating structure. I love delivering value. And the challenge, and this is what I'd like to get your thoughts on, is, you've got this core business that's, really delivering value to the law firm, and you got to keep that running. But you got these side interests, and you've got, we're actually a lot alike in that I love learning. I'm, the next, I spend $100,000 a year in mastermind groups or conferences, a little over that. So, and I really love having somebody who's walked the path before me, and that I can look. There's a lot of guys like in the ERA. I'm not a member of that. I've got a couple of friends, and they recently had a meeting, and he's sharing with me all the, these guys. I thought we were doing well. They're a bunch of guys. I flew back in one of the guys' Gulfstream jets to LA, and he's doing $200 million, and he's feeling like he's not doing very much.
Very well.
Yeah, and this is where, and it's primarily infomercial type are the biggest winners. But this is where the strategic stumbling of putting yourself in the line of money, seeing what these people are doing, or particularly when we want to do that. Because in the real world, very few of us are that brilliant. There's, if you look at see how somebody's doing it, you can make a big difference. But how do you balance, Stephen, kind of the core business? I always think of it, that's got to be 80% and 20% is kind of this other stuff. But how do you balance that, to keep things moving?
There are two ways. One, I'm a big believer in the work hard, play hard. So I don't have the balance that most families would have. Mm-hmm. So if I'm playing, and if I take a week off, fly to Milan, do this, do that, or fly to wherever, that's traveling usually is my escape. Mm-hmm. But by the same token, I can work a 80-100-hour work week and do that 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And so sometimes I'm out dating, busy, this and that. And sometimes my companies need what I need, and thank God I have the time, and I just devote it. The second thing, a lot of people have told me, I get this all the time when people look me up on the internet, and they've hired our law firm, and they say, well, wait a second, how are you going to help me with my case when you're designing ties and you're talking on your blog about relationships, this and that, who are you? Well, at the end of the day...
Well, and you're taking care of all these dogs, too. I mean, you got relationships, you've got business, you've got fashion, and you really got some causes you care about. And that's where, so I mean, that's really, it's a full life. And I mean, and one of the things I think when people say they have balance, they're full of it. It's usually, if you can have harmony during different parts of your life, it's kind of all. But how do you manage that?
Well, I'm going to bifurcate the answer. One is, they say if you enjoy what you do, you're not really working. When I'm working on Relationships 901, or when I'm working on Antonio Stefano, the tie company, that's play for me. I mean, I used to play polo, but I had 2 very severe injuries, and after 12 years of that gorgeous sport, time to take a break. This now is my pleasure. So it is relaxing. I don't consider anything I do for Antonio Stefano as work, and more importantly, I'm doing it for the dog. So it's even more so a pleasure. But in terms of law, with all the now you do masterminds, which is fantastic. I wish I had the time and money to do what you're doing at your level. But I go to more to educational conferences because I'm involved in a few things. I have to learn so much and keep up. I'm here to serve my clients as a business lawyer, and the more I speak their language and get their needs, I think that makes me a better lawyer. I don't do the core discovery or this or that for litigation. There's a lot of things I don't do for 2 reasons. One, I'm the most expensive lawyer in my firm, and secondly, it'd be a waste of time. I do the strategic stuff, because that's all that interests me. So I'm only in a case 5 or 10%, but I'm that 5 or 10% which will kick butt. We say, send my client a Scud, I'll return fire with a tomahawk. Don't mess with us. And we're serious. That's what you need. You need to guide your people who are working with you into that, wartime mode. That's what I do. Or when it comes to immigration, when we have some really, really complex cases, and we're trying to, because we do cases for 80 law firms as well. So we're on the cutting edge, and I'm trying to decide, what would happen if I did this, and what would happen if I did that. That's when I come in. The rest of the stuff, I'm just every day, reading the updates and staying on top of it. I speed read and I speed type. It doesn't take long to do that.
And one of the things, Stephen, what I find too is that that little piece that you're talking about, that extra 5% or so that you do. I mean, this is us, and I do it with my firms too, is, we're providing the leadership, we're providing the vision, we're providing that little missing thing that to really go and accelerate it and make it happen. That's where it really comes together. And this is, as we're all building businesses, it's so important. I look at businesses is all about, we don't do business to get more business. We do business to design, the business is going to support the quality of life that we want. And that's what we want to do, is design the business on purpose to be successful. And each of us has different things that we want to accomplish. Stephen, when you think of, you know, you go through and as you're experimenting, do you see now that you're, are these, kind of the four entities, or when you and I get together for that glass of wine 3 years from now, will there be six?
Well, no, most likely, the next 3 years or so, I probably will retire from law and work with Relationships 901 and Antonio Stefano exclusively. I'll keep the film production company because you always need a film production company with today's internet and with all the video blogs we do, et cetera, and it's kind of fun. I love it. But so I think that's what I'm going to do full time, because really my goal, which I don't think I mentioned to you, so in a glass of wine, I would have told you the following. I'm trying to raise $20 million with these two companies, Relationships and the clothing line, to build a for-profit diagnostic and dental intensive dog hospital, which then devotes 100% of its profits to a circumference of dog shelters that get abused and abandoned dogs. And there they'll get free diagnostic, free major surgery, and even free grooming. So they come out, what they deserve. So, because that's my passion at the end of the day, it's the abused and abandoned dog.
And why would you do it as a for-profit? I actually like that, but just why a for-profit versus a not-for-profit?
Because it gives me a lot of flexibility. There are a lot of rules around not-for-profits. There are also a lot of critics. I learned in running, I have a 501c3 for the dog. My good God, it's hard to please everybody. So I'm thinking to myself, I want to advertise, I want to do this, as a for-profit. First of all, I think if I have the best diagnostic equipment money can buy, and the latest, and an OR that will put most human ORs to shame, then I can afford. I can get some of the best doctors in the country. Which means if we have an abused and abandoned dog, and there's an experimental surgery that you or I, as regular humans, say, I can't afford $100,000 or $50,000. I, as a hospital, can. I get the doctor wholesale, right? Doesn't matter to me. And if the OR isn't being used, it's free. So to speak, if you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, we can do things and develop new techniques. So getting back to, God, I forgot your question. I got so caught up in the answer.
Well, no, for-profit versus not-for-profit.
For-profit. So thank you. So it gives me the flexibility to do all of this without having to answer to anybody. I mean, me as a hospital, obviously we'll have a board and all of that, but I'm saying as a for-profit, you made a decision, execute. I'm not into this, let's take 10 days and decide all of this and have votes. We can do it. We want to market this way, we want to spend this much, we do it. And then also gives flexibility. Let's say I find an angel who says to me, Stephen, make it an LLC. I need some tax write-offs. I'll invest X amount because I want to be part of the 51% of the profit. You interested? I can say yes. In a not-for-profit, I can't do anything.
No, it does give you a lot more flexibility. And I really like, one of the things that we see among, we have the privilege of working with so many successful business owners, and over again, as they're having success, and we talked about this and you alluded to it, it's not all about numbers. We'll study the super rich, 500 million and above, and there are certain things to make 500 million and above that you need to do. One is you got to be totally focused on achieving extreme wealth, which usually destroys families. And I go on all the different things that we've seen, and most of us, we'd like to have that wealth, but we're not willing to do what you need to do to get there. But what we do have is we want to make a difference, and it's not, we want to make a difference and deliver a great value to our clients, and that's the nice thing about markets is, we get that feedback instantly. But what was really, to me, empowering is that 70% of the successful business owners have causes they care about and they're passionate about, just like you are, Stephen. That and it's not what I think people, and particularly the charities, if there's any charities involved, they're oftentimes playing to the guilt to give back, and that doesn't work with entrepreneurs. What they want to do, and that's why I like the idea of setting up as a for-profit, because you can be much more deliberate, you can go make a difference, and you can really run it as a business versus have the group think that sometimes gets into trouble. And Stephen, one of the things that I would encourage everyone to really think about, what I like, you're being successful on purpose. This, as you go through, the different periods of your life, there's a conscious decision of how you want to build, the businesses that you care about, and if you decide a few years to leave the law firm, you already know you've already written the beginning of the chapter. You don't know how it's going to turn out yet, but you can turn the page and you're going to find out what that is. And that's what we should all do.
Well, I completely agree with you. And that's where I hope that some of your very successful entrepreneurs are finding some resonance with what you and I are saying here. Because, what I found in the stratification of the companies that I've chosen, as I alluded to earlier, the people that I've met in each of these different areas, either dog lovers, fashionistas, actors and actresses, producers, and then all of my lovely clients in the law firm, they're all different. And as a result, we get to experience literally a different world in their presence. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that makes all of it fun, especially law, which to me, it's not the most exciting in professions, to be honest. It's my clients. Half of them become my friends. We get each other. We don't even have to speak. Got it. He opens, 2 words. Got it. So we're, what I mean? We're on the same page. And so when you're with burning entrepreneurs, it's crazy good.
No, it's phenomenal. I mean, we're all wired a little weird, particularly business people, and bringing them together, there's a lot of value creation. What I'd like to do, I want to, we have a segment we call resources, Stephen, and what I'd like to do, and let me pull it up here. I'm going to pull up I'm going to start with your style, your fashion website. And let me pull up, and I'd love to I'm putting it on the screen. You describe what this business is. It's funny. I looked at this and I was trying to remember the building. It's in Milan, isn't it? This picture.
Yes, it is. It's,
the last time I bought a silk tie was in Milan. So beautiful fashion there, the whole thing. Tell us a little bit about what this business is, and anyone that is watching or listening. And for those of you driving, don't try to hold up your iPhone and look at the picture. Go to right above me. I have aesnation.com. Go to the link. We'll have the transcript of what Steve and I have talked about, all the links of everything that we've referred to. But tell me a little bit about this business and what's on the website.
Well, right now we have our 20 ties. So we started out with that because I feel there's a need in the market for it. The next step, we've created a beautiful ladies silk robe with our leopardo, or jaguar, sorry. No, hang on, leopardo. I tried the jaguar. I paint the leopard. The leopard design, I'm getting confused with these cats. And we created a beautiful ladies bathrobe. So that's going to open us up into the women's line. So what we're trying to do is to tread carefully. I don't want to get in here and compete with all the major players in all the same things they do, because there's no way I can compete with Versace or Hermes or Yves Saint Laurent and all of these major houses and the major stuff. But I can find areas where I feel there's room for something different. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to dress the man who says, you know what, I got to wear a tie, but I want to look cool doing it. So my tie can be worn by a rapper who's 25, could be worn by a CEO who wants to come in and command the room.
Even a 61-year-old guy like me, I can't rap at all here.
I can't sing to save my life.
Well, let me I'm going to put up the law firm's website. Tell us a little bit about what your focus is there.
There, it's the business side of it, because I'm a member of the California Bar. A lot of immigration lawyers tend to only do immigration. And we started out doing immigration and business law, but I focused more on immigration because it was so bloody complex and so much to know. And litigation kept on growing, because that's where we got a lot of business from people I knew who were entrepreneurs. And then in 2000, I went to Boston, studied strategic management at Harvard, and became a Fortune 500 business consultant to really, really get business. The reason I mentioned the immigration side was because mostly we deal with foreign investors. They come in here, and I experienced this 5 years ago, and I moved to Rome for a year. You don't know anything, and you don't know what you don't know, like really badly. And I get what it's like coming to this country. You have no clue. It's hard. And here, in our beautiful California, the sixth largest economy in the world, we have more laws, I think, than either 99 or 100% of the countries on the planet.
I think it's 110% of the.
Right. It's incredible. So even I don't know all, well, of course I don't. I mean, I'm not a machine, and you're expected to know all of this. Like I had a client came to me, he's been in business 20 years. He said, I didn't know you have to have workers' compensation. So we help them on both the business side, and that's why we have the film production company. You see, create videos for the internet, or if they're trying to create a presentation, we help them do this. We help them find staff, locations, this, that. We have about 3,000 contacts here and about 1,500 in LA. I've lived there 3 times, of different things, different people who get things done with integrity. And so we help them get their business moving. So in a way, I get to, what's the word, vicariously live through, because everybody loves the beginning of a business when that train starts rolling. I live with them, get them started, and then, they call me when they need me when something goes badly. But otherwise, they're off and away. So that's what that's all about.
No, that's great, Stephen. Let me go and share with the listeners and viewers kind of my key takeaways of this. And I think this is something that's really important for all of us, is it's so easy as we have more success and, to kind of get bored with our businesses. And there's nothing worse than a bored entrepreneur. They can screw up businesses left and right. And one of the things, we've had with Stephen's been sharing, how he's addressed. I gave a little bit of how I did, but, recognize these challenges are oftentimes opportunities. And, what are that, as you're going through business, as strategic stumbling, you want to be opportunistic, particularly if it's aligned with your passions, and, take in some percentage, make a conscious decision. I like use a 20% rule and, kind of incrementally do it. I just got an interview that I'm going to be posting a little bit later, one of the top global players, and he's just now swing for the fence with 20, big global, and he's done unbelievably well. But recognize, challenge number one, strategic stumbling is really powerful. As you go out, what happens is, as you meet more people, the people Stephen was saying he's meet, and I've got the privilege, all these CEO groups, mastermind groups, and the businesses I have. When you have those conversations, stuff happens. There's strategic stumbling, if you will, and there's a strategic byproducts that come out, and they can be some of the biggest successes you'd ever have. I love, work hard, play hard. Very powerful. I'm a big believer. I wish there was a secret I could give to everybody. Every piece of research, most successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do, which is work. But you can still play hard too. And then, really, in everything that Stephen talked about, he talked about serving people, making a difference in the causes he cares about. But the biggest thing, and this is something that's so important, is we're building a business to support the quality of life, be successful on purpose. Stephen, again, thank you for the time today. It's phenomenal. I really wish you the best of success in everything that you do going forward. You've already done so much. And then I encourage everyone, go to AES Nation. You can get the transcript, the links to Stephen's websites, and most importantly, go execute on this. Go make a difference on, for the people you love and the causes that you care about. Make it happen.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. AESNation.com.